Hello geometry students, we are going to do next 4 questions from special right triangle section 9.2. This is page number 250. And two things we learn in this section is about two special triangles. One is 45, 90 degree triangle, and the relation between sides, the two legs, they're x and x, and the hypotenuse is going to be x square root 2. That we have to remember. Another thing, if it is a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle, then if shorter leg is x, then longer leg is going to be x root 3 and hypotenuse is 2x. So we need to keep that in mind, and then we're going to solve our problem. So let's first copy it down here for reference so that you don't get confused. So if it is 45, 45, 90, this is 45, 45, 90. Keep in mind this is x, x, this is x root 2. And if it is 30, 60, 90, then in that case, if this is x, shorter leg is x, longer leg is x root 3, then the hypotenuse is 2x. We have to apply that. So we have to use these two in order to solve these problems. So when we're going to do question number 1 through 4, and when we look at all the problems, the first case we see here, this is 45, and we know the two acute angles of a right triangle, they are complementary. So if this is 45, this is going to be 45, because 90 minus 45 is 45. So it's again a case of 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. Now here just one angle is given. We don't have any information about the sides. But when we look at the legs, they're congruent because they have the same measurement. The moment we see it's an isosceles, means base angles are going to be congruent. So these are complementary. And I know this is 90. They're together supposed to be 90 degree. It means this is going to be 45 and this is going to be 45 degree. Same thing here. Just information about one angle is given. Based on that information and the rest of the side information, we have to figure out which kind of triangle is that. So a side is x, another leg is x. So it means it's an isosceles triangle. For these two legs or the congruent sides, we can say these two are base angles. And these are base angles means, again it's a right triangle, base angles are congruent. It means this is supposed to be 45, this is supposed to be 45. Same thing we can look here. This is 45, this is 90, so this is again 90 minus 45, that is what? 45 degrees. So when we look at all the 4 examples, we see first step is to identify the kind of special triangle it is. So first case, second one, third one, and fourth one. When we look at each and every triangle, we see it's actually the case of this one, 45, 45, 90. So it means the legs are going to be x, legs are going to be the same one, and only we have to think about hypotenuse, which have different value, that's x root 2. We have to use that logic here and apply to the questions 1 through 4. So let's start with the very first one. So when we look at the first problem, we see this is 45, 45. So legs are same. As we have done here, the legs are going to be the same. So if this is 10, this is also going to be 10. But we're not supposed to find that. We're supposed to find hypotenuse. And what is the formula here? We know. So I'm just going to use H for hypotenuse, acronym, so that I don't have to write it again and again. So for hypotenuse, I'm writing H. So H is what? Leg root 2. And what is your leg here? The leg is actually 10 root 2. That's the answer. And hypotenuse, and they want us to find x, so h, the hypotenuse is x, so this is x. Same thing. Now if I want to do my next problem, so for that we see that again 95, this is 45, 45 and 90. So in that case my legs are where? So first we need to identify this is leg, this is, they're same. And whatever the hypotenuse is, this is going to be leg time root 2. My hypotenuse is what? Leg time root 2. And I already been given the leg. Leg is what? Root 2 over 2 times root 2. And we know, because it's the multiplication of two radicals, that's actually root 4 over 2. And what is root 4? That is 2 over 2. And finally that is 1. But that's the value of hypotenuse. And what we're trying to find out, why we're trying to find out the value of hypotenuse, and they assigned a variable x, so it doesn't matter, just a notation, variable notation for that, so x is equal to 1. That's our answer. Same way, if we're doing question number 3, for that, let's see what's given. For number 3, we have been given 2 legs. Again, I told you we already identified which kind of triangle is it, and we need to now identify which are the legs here. These are the legs because they form 90 and they're congruent, and they're going to be same, x, and this is going to be our hypotenuse. And we know, but the trouble is here, in the previous 2 questions we got the leg and we needed to find the hypotenuse, but in this case they gave us hypotenuse. So if assume, just think, if it is x and x, if it is some kind of number, and we're supposed to find this hypotenuse with the formula, that's supposed to be x root 2. But they have already given us the value of this hypotenuse, so let's equate them. So hypotenuse will be, if I want to find hypotenuse, that's x root 2, but they have already given us that this is actually 8 root 2, so I can write down x root 2 is 8 root 2. And what we are supposed to find? We are supposed to find value of x. I need to isolate x. I have to divide both sides by root 2. And then x is what? 8. And you can cross check by plugging it in. You can cross check. Suppose you're plugging in 8 here. If your leg is 8, your hypotenuse is going to be 8 root 2, x root 2. That's it here. So that's given. It means your answer is correct. So whenever you get some answer, try to plug it in back and check if you're getting the correct answer. Now we are going to do the very last problem here. That is given here. Again, yes, very first step. All the time I tell you, identify the kind of special triangle and then think about the relationship between the sides. And this is x, and we have to find what is that x. And this is the leg here. This is the leg. This is another leg. And in this case, this is the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse, I told you, that's always, hypotenuse is leg time root 2. Hypotenuse is 12. What is leg? Just plug it in. X root 2. And I have to find my x. So I would divide both sides by root 2 because I need to isolate my x. So 12 over root 2 is x root 2 over root 2. This is gone. So my x is 12 over root 2. But whenever we present some answer, we rationalize if it is in radical. Radical is in the denominator. So what we need to do in the next step, we need to multiply whatever the radical is with the same radical. We divide top and bottom like this. So this will become 12 root 2 over 2. And what you need to do, you need to cross cancel. 6 ones are 6 and 2's are 12. That's finally you get x equal to 2 root 2. Sorry, this is 2 here. Yes, root 2 times root 2 is 2 and this is 6. So this is 6 root 2. So any question, just let me know. I solved these 4 problems and tomorrow we are going to do next problems, and you can start the homework. Whatever you don't understand, just leave it, skip it until we finish the whole chapter. Any question, any doubt, please let me know. Thank you. Stay safe.